crawling before we're walking or running. So yes, we've got a e-reader environment where people are bringing their own device there, but not getting on the internet, not going out.
Yeah, I'm wondering, we're working on revamping our board policies. If that's something that may come up or need to be in a policy as far as how we implement BYOD and security measures that have to be taken.
We haven't. We're working on a BYOD policy that is ready to go, and we'll be rolling out with in March when we do this. It's going to be a standard operating procedure to begin with until we work out all the bugs, and I think we'll have a very good policy when we're done. Any other questions? I'm going to go to the next one. Next person that's going to be talking to you is a good friend of mine, Robert. He is here to talk to you about the things that are happening with the instructional technology side of the house.
Chairman Reinhardt, Mr. Baldwin, members of the board, and other stakeholders, I want to take a minute to give you the state of instructional technology. You're going to hear a lot of these same phrases and words that Monty just got through talking about. I want to explain a little bit about what we do. We are under the same driving forces: our leadership, our curriculum, our impact committee, our budget, our strategic plans, our technology plans, and race to the top. But I want to go a little deeper and tell you who we are. We have 2 elementary technology facilitators that service all of our elementary schools. We have 1 intermediate and middle school technology facilitator. We have 1 high school technology facilitator and 1 lead media specialist. Now what that is, as a ratio, student to ITF ratio is 5,092 to 1. Our staff to our instructional technology facilitator ratio is 787 to 1. And then our computer to ITF ratio is 2,700 to 1. Now that data is taken from last year's 2012 countywide profile. Those numbers are staggering as far as us and our ability to support our staff. Here's some of our responsibilities. We are to promote, we are to model, create, implement whatever that our teachers want to implement as far as technology in their classroom. The instructional technology facilitators support and train all teachers and curriculum staff on uses of instructional technology. We model, we collaborate, we facilitate best practices in 21st century teaching and learning, and we facilitate distance learning for our staff and our students. Now, some of the programs that we support, you've probably heard of a lot of these before, but we support both teachers and students in these. And a number of those there you're familiar with: Google Mail, both for students and faculty. We have our own LMS, Moodle. You've probably heard of that before. But all those other programs are integrated in our schools across the district. We continuously train as much as we can on all those programs. Now, I want to take a minute just to emphasize what this picture says here, that technology is to improve instruction. We get caught up a lot of times in what technology should be used for. And in the educational sense, we should actually be using it just as a tool. The focus should not be on the technology, but rather what the technology means to the teaching and learning process. Curriculum should not be driven by the latest technology just because it's cheap or because it's what everybody else is doing. The promise of technology is that you can be more creative, you can do something better, you can do it quickly. The best teaching and learning methodologies remain the same. But our goal is to enhance those same teaching and learning methodologies by using technology as a tool. We always ask our teachers when they want to try out a new technology, what are you going to do with it? What is the student going to do with it? And how can we bridge the gap between technology and instruction? And that's what our job is. This graph here separates three categories. I'm going to start on the right, because everybody looks at the left first. So I'm going to start on the right. That is the things, the digital devices, the tools that we want to bring into our classrooms. Those are the things in which we press enter, whatever that device is. Our role in the future is to see what that device is, what's going to fit into the curriculum. The interconnection piece in the middle is technology, and that's the technology department. Those are the services and the infrastructure that Monty just got through talking about. It's making sure that pressing enter always works. And then your third category is the instructional piece. That's where we come in as technology facilitators and make sure the applications that the teachers want to use or that the leadership has said is going to be an initiative in the county, we have to ensure that pressing enter is going to help students learn. That's our job. And I want to come back to that slide here in just a minute and show you how that relates to us. So why do we do this? Why do we invest and use technology? Teachers can have better information to tailor instruction. Tailor meaning they can adjust to their students' needs. Classrooms will be richer and more engaging environments. Students can connect to the world, and we've already seen that a couple of times tonight. And finally, digital learning offers new opportunities for individualization and personalized learning. That's where we want to go. So our future, BYOD. Suzanne Swarmer is going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute, where we are and where we're going with that. We've already heard about one-to-one technology. We all want that. That has a lot to do with budgets. Ready Anywhere access. The state is developing a plan right now and in the process of looking at providing access to students anywhere and everywhere. You're going to hear some more about that in a minute too. One of the things that we have to look at in our future to make sure that we make the right decisions with technology is our testing requirements. We had 4,300 students, CTE students, test online in January. They had a window of opportunity to do that. We had labs scheduled on a rotating basis to where we could accommodate that. So it was a good test to see between Buncombe County and DPI where we were with that technology. They've got a lot of work to do. It wasn't that bad on our end, but they have a lot of work to do. In 2014, all grades, 3 and up, will be taking their EOCs, EOGs, the CTE exams, and the MSLs online. We have to be prepared for that. We have to make sure that the decisions we make in technology are going to meet the requirements for doing that testing online. And not every device falls into that category. So that's something we have to consider as we move forward. What we do know is that the PC is it. But the PC is also one of the most expensive devices we can buy. We do also know that Apple is in that play area too. The other things that we hear about that may be cheap or we may think they may work may not be supported by the state. If they're not supported by the state, then that's a direction we can't take. We can't be putting devices in every single student's hand and then coming back and saying, well, that's not going to work for testing. So that's a key feature. Also, we have home base. Home base is coming whether we like it or not. NC-WISE is going to end on June the 30th. They're going to cut the switch off. We will be moving to Power School, which will be called home base with a lot of other features, August 2013. We've got to have every employee in Buncombe County that accesses NC-WISE trained and ready to go when school starts back in August. That's a monumental task. Also, home base is going to change the way our teachers teach. There's going to be a little culture shock. Home base is going to offer a lot of transparency to stakeholders, to parents, teachers, administrators on how teachers teach in their classroom. That's going to be a key that seems to have people wondering whether or not they want to stay in this business or not. But that will take care of itself. Also, in that process of us gaining access to home base, the state will have a cost-sharing formula that we may have to, if we want to stay with all the features that they have in home base, we may have to share some cost in that. We don't know what that is yet. but we know that it's coming, and they will have some formulas ready for us soon. So, how do we get there? Well, we continue with our plans. We have a great setup with all those driving forces that Monty and I both have talked about. We need to keep those in place, keep the channels of communication open. We need to implement our personal learning communities. We spent a lot of time back in December, if you're aware of, that we had the DeFore training on PLCs. Great opportunity for us to continue that. PLCs are going to be major in home base, to where teachers are going to be able to get together based on their grade level, based on their subjects that they teach, and be able to come up with a set of lesson plans or curriculum-based lessons that they can use across the district and even across the state, to where everybody's doing the same thing based on state standards. We need to reduce obstacles, and I want to mention a couple of obstacles. Number one is change. Anytime somebody mentions change in education, the first thing they say is, well, you're going to give me another piece of technology, and I don't know what to do with it. We've got to alleviate that fear. Change is not always bad, but what teachers do see is they say, why are you doing this? There's a lack of proof to show that that piece of technology is going to be beneficial. So what we need to do is we need to come up with a plan to where we can maintain, look at the advantages of introducing new technology and identify and clearly communicate with our stakeholders, and have a plan to introduce technology gradually so we can have and identify our strong leaders, and then pull along those that are not really up to that technology yet, so that we can all get on that train that Holly showed and move forward. Right now we're not moving forward. Change is a scary word, but it's also an optimistic word. And it's our job and our task to convince stakeholders, all of them, that hope is better than the fear of change. We also need to increase support. The lack of training and time to train is the part of this technology adoption phase that we're in right now that is bottlenecking the process. It's slowing it down. We cannot continue to integrate technology into the classroom with inadequate support of staff and lack of collaboration time. We must identify our laggards and move them forward, if it's by hand or by foot, to get them on the train which is going to lead us into the future. Now I want to go back to that earlier graph I had, and I want to make this sort of come real with the point I'm trying to make. We talked about the things, we've talked about the interconnections, and we've talked about the instruction and how we need to be present in it. Let's change that to the device. It's a handheld device or it's a mobile device. Doesn't matter. Let's change that middle column to our technology staff, support, and the services that are provided by the technology department. All the things that Monty mentioned earlier. Let's change that third column to instructional technology staff and support. We cannot increase the things without proportionately increasing the other two, or we're going to set ourselves up for failure. It's just that simple. The more technology that we put into the school system, we need to support it with technology staff to make sure that that system works, and we need to support it with instructional technology staff to make sure the teachers know how to use it and make sure the students know how to use it. And that's where the rubber hits the road. Okay. Now Suzanne's going to share with you a little bit about questions.
Can I ask a quick question? The numbers you had, the ratios, those are all based on current devices, current equipment we have, not projected numbers of going
Those
forward.
were taken from the website that has our profile of 2012.
Those are today, February
The computer
2013.
ratio was actually today, 13,500 computers.
Thank you.
We have some numbers for you.
Anybody have any questions?
Inside your folder, you'll have a remodeling card from the state of North Carolina.
wanted to talk a little bit about the Mondo. We would love to have had the real Mondo board here as a show and tell. That was the best we could do because we only have one in the system. And we have one in the system because Inga High School is part of an impact grant, and they are sort of our test pilots for technology. They are using that in so many ways. Dr. Baldwin and I and staff went out. Dr. Baldwin and I and other staff went out and saw a live presentation about a week ago, and we were able to communicate in-house and out-of-house on either a 55-inch or a 70-inch really large computer that does everything. And it allows distance learning for teachers and, more importantly, distance learning for students. Imagine if we had a Latin teacher at TC and we didn't have enough Latin students to make a class at North Buncombe. We could distance those students into that setting, and it would be real time. So it would be a great communications tool, distance learning tool, a way for us to not bring people to central office meetings. So it has multiple communication uses as far as teaching and learning uses. So that's the Mondo board that you saw, and you'll see that on your framework. The second area I wanted to touch on is BYOD. Bring your own device, or you may see, if you were to Google it, bring your own technology. I first heard this term by Dr. Gene Atkinson, our state superintendent, a couple of years ago. And we all came back from a conference and we told Monty, guess what's coming? BYOD. And he was not as excited, being a very safe technology director that he is. But we have had 2 years to work on this and really look at how we make this available to our staff and students. Actually, BYOD started in the business world around 2009. You will see it referenced on the remodeling plan in your folder under New Tools, Cloud Computing, which Homebase is a part of cloud computing. That is where the state in their Race to the Top grant set funds aside for this system that will help teachers with lesson planning, student assessments, student accountability, a parent portal. So all of those wonderful tools for teaching, for student learning, for student use, and for parent use will be in that cloud computing called Homebase. And then you see one-to-one digital device for every student, including bring your own device programs, and then access. So right where the state is moving forward. Why do we need to move forward with this now? We know teachers spend a lot of time outside the classroom looking for engaging lessons, looking for ways to make instruction more interesting with the new Common Core, the essential standards. We also know that we have not allowed them to bring their own devices into the school buildings. So work at home might not connect with work at school. We also know that teachers can't stay at school 24/7 to get all of their lesson plans done. So it's time to make their jobs a little easier. We've seen seniors working on senior projects, and how do they take their device? Because many of our seniors, as they're making their PowerPoint or media presentation, they're having a challenge using school technology and home technology. And if you judge senior projects, sometimes those technologies don't work together. So there's a challenge for our kids. Student teachers are not allowed to access our system because we have not opened it up to anyone. So I see student teachers doing paper and pencil lesson plans. I have one of those at my house, and she's drawing her lesson plans with paper and pencil because she's not allowed to access, as any student teacher has not accessed our internet. That has been for safety reasons. It's time to look at how we can make our future teachers use technology because they're coming to us from the university programs very technology savvy. Parents are calling me and say, I just got my student an iPad for Christmas. Why can't I bring it to school? Why can't he bring it to school? So it's time for us to really look at how do we do this but keep safety, because it is a very important to our system that we keep students safe. Cell phones are coming into our schools, cell phones with 3G and 4G, and whether we like it or not, we're going to have to quit looking at those as contraband and looking at those as how do we use them for technology? How do we use the clickers to take answer responses in the classroom. So sort of, it has progressed nicely, I should say. Dr. Fuchs and his team have not had the infrastructure until recently for us to really make this happen, because it has taken some time to see how do we filter the access so that students have internet access but not access to the school network or the school system network. And now we are able to do that from the work that they've done. We tested this last June, the end of June at Pita High School. We had over 500 users on our system, and it worked. Works beautifully. It was a lot of work on their department. We learned a lot. We have systems in place now to make this happen, and we would expect that it will work in our schools as well. How are we going to do this? We've got to set expectations, and we've got to communicate those to our parents, to our students, and to our staff. We have policy 646 already in place that you adopted last May of 2012, and it includes language for this. Inside your folder, you have a BYOD statement of use. This will be a good regulations kind of document because it will talk about what BYOD is and what it is not. As we have had multiple conversations with our school principals, they are a bit nervous on how do we manage this. What happens if a device gets lost, damaged, or there's theft? We have to have procedures in place, and parents and students and staff have to understand if a student brings a device, it is their responsibility. But we have to help parents understand that before we just open the doors. We have had e-readers coming into our schools, and we have not had problems. So we think we can do this with specific communications. Our communications department is creating a video, and we think that will be very helpful to staff, students, and parents. We will also put a Q&A on our website. Principals will be having conversations in their buildings, and we'll make sure that we are announcing this through the media, through our website, and through parent meetings. Professional development will be very, very important, as many of our teachers are using technology, but what does it look like inside that classroom? If I'm a teacher and I have a research project, I'm going to say, students, you may use your devices. You may Google whatever topic we're working on. Others who may not have a device can go to the cart and borrow a device and bring it to their desk and work on it. At no time should a student be penalized if they don't have a device. Again, no penalties. We will make sure that everyone understands that. It is not a requirement. It is just a tool, just as a student brings a calculator, a pen, a pencil. Starting in March, we are hoping to open this up after we've had time to see the video, make proper communications, continue our talks with principals and teachers. Robert's team doing professional development, and I think next week on our designated teacher workday, they are all scheduled to be everywhere that day. So lots of professional development happening. We think by having sort of a soft opening, March, April, May, will allow us to start usage, gauge how it's going, collect data, so that when we start school in August, it should be a non-event. So that is our plan for BYOD. Any questions? The second part of our presentation, we talked about Mondo, we talked about BYOD. Now we're going to think a little bit differently about what a device can look like. You heard them talk about access, and that's something that has worried us in Buncombe County Schools about is how students have access if they don't have computer access at home. How do they use technology? On your framework, the very last page, the last survey results that I have, I've looked at our demographics, and then from the surveys that we have, responses last year, we understand that 78% of our families are saying that they have internet access at home. Well, that still leaves another percentage of students who don't. So what can we do as a school school system to make technologies available. And we have a presentation that we would like to share with you. Cindy Wilson, she is the Government Account Manager from Verizon, and we are dreaming and looking out of the box how to make those technologies more available. Cindy?
Dr. Baldwin, Chairman Reinhardt, the board, appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you tonight. Like she introduced me, I'm Cindy Wilson with Verizon Wireless, and I have with me my director, Thomas Green, and our data sales architect, Michael Postman. Several months ago, Michael and I met with Dr. Fuchs about a one-to-one initiative for Buncombe County Schools, and he was asking us if we would be willing, Verizon Wireless would be willing to partner with Buncombe County Schools to implement this one-to-one initiative. And of course, we said yes, we would be very glad to partner with you guys. So with that being said, we talked about what some of Buncombe County Schools' goals were. And the first one that came out of Dr. Fuchs' mouth was he wants to make sure that every student has the same opportunity for internet access and learning as any other student within Buncombe County Schools. And like he mentioned a little bit ago, 78% of the students might have internet access at home. What about the other ones that do not? So what another one of the goals were to improve communication between the students and the faculty, the parents, and the faculty. Increase the notification of security, get the information out there on time and fastly to the whole school community. Extend the school network. And in our presentation the last time, a light bulb went off, and some of when we presented to the superintendent and to the staff here, that, the school buses. The students now can, in a 2-hour school bus ride, have their own device with them and be able to, over the Verizon Wireless Network, still do research and study. One of the goals was to provide apps and clips that customize based on the grade level, push out applications and assignments, create excitement, and not only among the students, but with the parents, give them something new and exciting, and to be a leader in educational technology within the state of North Carolina. The existing situation that we have been told now is some students don't have internet access at home. And if they do have internet access, is it filtered? Is it secure? Email, at this time, is not an efficient means of communication, and we have been told that all students and staff have a Gmail account. Electronic communication is limited based on the school's resources, the family's resources. Some students are bringing their own devices. And some have no devices. Bring your own device. It's a great opportunity, but IT doesn't have a lot of control. I mean, if one student's bringing in an Android, one student's bringing in an iPhone device, and one student's bringing in a Windows mobile device, IT has to, juggle all of those devices to make sure that they're secure on the network. So, in other words, there's no consistency within the personal devices technology. We're proposing an iPhone for all of the students, and on those iPhones, they would be applications, Google Mail, that would be their Gmail account where they could communicate. It would be a secure, free website or email device. Google Drive, which is like a cloud storage where the students and teachers can store their assignments, their information out onto the cloud through Google Drive. Keynote, which is basically what we've got right here, is a presentation. Evernote, I use it all the time. My director's been sitting over here this whole time taking notes on his Evernote. It's a note-taking, and it's stored on the cloud. And then Destiny's Quest, which is your library resource interface, which has all types of books and stuff out where the students can access. Those are just some of the apps. When talking to Dr. Fushi was mentioning there's like 70+ apps that the school system is looking at to load onto these devices. Skype. Yes, Skype. And you just saw a presentation on Skype. You can Skype on these devices. Mobile security, that was a big issue, and we have built Buncombe County Schools a private network. With that being said, if the student accesses that device from anywhere within the county, it is pushed through the Verizon Wireless network. It goes into the Buncombe County Schools firewalls before it can go out to the internet. So students can't go anywhere they want to go on that internet. It is controlled. It is a secure environment. So if you don't want to go on Facebook, if you don't want to go into, no telling what's out there on the internet, it can be controlled. We will partner with a mobile device manager group. I don't know if y'all are aware what that does, but it is a vendor who would manage those devices and load all those apps. They were just talking about how they need more technology support. Well, a mobile device manager vendor would provide that type of support. They would support the devices. They would load all the technology on it and hopefully be able to secure it through a VPN connection. It'd only be one device for IT to support. There again, you wouldn't be juggling 5 or 3 different platforms on the device. And all students would have the same learning opportunities with wireless access and technology. So the ones whose parents can't afford to buy them an iPad, can't afford to give them their own phone, Buncombe County Schools could provide that for them and make sure that they did have those same learning tools as the students whose parents were able to give them to them. The impact: students can be more productive. Communication between the students and teachers will improve by having real-time access to each other. Now, the teachers may not want to be getting an email, from the students at 9 o'clock at night, but to think of a student just working on their homework and they do have a question where they could ping the teacher to help them learn, increase their learning environment. Provide secure delivery of sensitive school materials. Lower expenses by not purchasing many textbooks. From research I've done before we did this, textbooks can cost anywhere up to $800, and I know the funding has been cut on textbook purchasing within the state of North Carolina. Reduce paperwork and printing. Assignments can be on the phone itself. We had conversations where Thomas has young children who come home from school every day with an envelope full of 10 or 15 pieces of paper, and I've seen that with my grandchildren. Improve overall test scores by providing each student the ability to access the same learning tools and resources. Again, here we've got Race to the Top Fund. Improve image with the community by using cutting-edge technology. Here's what we proposed, and this was taken into consideration when we had talked that all 2nd grade, 3rd grade and up through 12th grade would be given an iPhone 4. That'd be 22,000 students. That would be at no cost to the school. Verizon Wireless would give you those devices. Now, of course, they've got to have internet access. So for them to have unlimited internet access on that mobile device would cost $34.99, which totals $769.70, $80. That's what Verizon has paid. But then you get your money back from E-rate at 82%. So if you look at that over a 12-month period, you're looking at $1,662,724.80. Start me to say that. But when you break it down per student per year, it's only $75.58. That's 21 cents a day per student. So to me, that's a couple pieces of bubble gum. I mean, 21 cents, that's a very little amount of money to think per day per student. We did recommend that they would get some type of protective case for that device. So if you've got a smartphone yourself and you've ever dropped one, you know that they can be damaged. So the OtterBoxes provides a very, very protective environment for that device. They would probably need some extra travel charges to have within the school in case the student would come in without charging his phone. And then insurance would be an option too if y'all chose to put insurance on them.
So $9.99 a monthly rate.
Pardon
The
me?
insurance, $9.99
Yes,
monthly.
it is. Yes, it is. The private networks it's in the works. We have a little bit of kinks on the end, but we built it, and we're working with the technology group to get it resolved. Proof of concept, we were working on 2013. Present to the board, which we're doing tonight. E-rate proposal has to be in by the middle of February. I'd like to start the pilot testing in March and implement in July. Anybody have any questions about what we just went over or what we discussed previously?
Maybe this would be directed to Dr. Baldwin and Ms. Swanger. Is it your recommendation, if we were to go like this, to have a 12-month, that phone goes to that student year-round, and we're not in school for 12 months, and would we continue to be subsidizing and paying for that usage during those months when they're not in school, i.e. specifically the summer months?
Yes. There's a lot of decision points that still have to be made, whether or not the number of students that we want to lay this out to, or what age group we want to start at, whether or not we want those protections, or whether or not we want insurance. Those are all things that we can still discuss. None of that is etched in stone. The proposal here is just the concept, the idea, how we would use it, how we implement it, and that we would begin it. And taking advantage of E-rate this year may not be 100% of the 82% that's up there. So those are things that we still don't know yet, but we have to move forward because of the contract requirement of E-rate. We have to make a decision to say we want to do this in February, March. That's the window. And then the USAC or E-rate comes back to us and says, well, this is how much money we'll give you towards that. And we still have to make a decision whether or not we want to do it. E-rate. Oh, that's another hour. E-rate is the amount of money that we receive back from the federal government, the FCC, and an organization called USAC, for the technology that we spend in telecommunications. Example, because of our free and reduced lunch rate, they give us a percentage in our organization that says we're at 82%. Now that doesn't mean 82% of our kids are like that. They just there's a formula that they figure out that says that Buncombe County Schools is at 82%. Okay, that means if we spend $1 on telecommunications, the phones that I have, the internet that you're looking at, the telecommunications in between the schools, all of our phones, okay? If we spend $1, we get 82 cents back. Okay, so makes it very important.
Yeah, I'm sure y'all have a wireless device, or even a landline phone, I believe, are charged these. But if you look at the phone bill that you get, you'll see a universal service charge on there. That's the money that's collected to fund E-rate.
That's right.
So on
Millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That ought to make you feel better.
So on every cell phone bill, I think it's on landline bills too, that you were charged with universal service charge. It only goes to K through 12 too. It's not for higher ed.
It needs about $580,000 a year to fund the council.
This was our website too,
Yes, it does.
and I'm sure y'all talked a lot about device. And why did you pick the iPhone and then can you take tests on iPhone?
We're pretty confident that we're going to get in that direction. They're saying that they're going to support iPads, which is iOS, which is the same thing that's on an iPhone.
And just why iPhone versus iPad?
Because we have to pay for an iPad. The iPhone is free.
We're going to subsidize the iPhone for you. And I think we've had this discussion too. I think this is something that will grow as funding becomes available. At least you've got something in the student's hand now. And I'm sure that you've seen students on their parents' phones or their phones. They are becoming very, very good at getting around on that device. Also, something I did not bring up that I think is very important for y'all to realize, these phones will be locked down. They can't use them to make phone calls. They cannot text on to each other. They might be able to do some type of texting amongst, like with Google Mail or that type of thing, but they're not going to have the typical texting that you see everyone doing now. So there'll be no phone calls on, and there'll be no texting. They will have internet access only, and that internet access will come through a secure tunnel where y'all will control where those students can go on the internet.
The mobile device management that she's talking about earlier, we call it MDM, means that the students can't put even a game on it if we don't want them to. And whatever we want on it, we can put on it for them, and they just wake up with it in the morning, basically.
Good morning, this is your activity.
Two things I want to, first is remember the vision of that device. So I'm doing the same thing. I don't have Blackberry, or I got Blackberry, so I'm looking. Remember, we've got to be prepared, whatever device comes in that classroom, especially if I've got 25 kids coming in my geometry class. Every single one of them we're talking about, every single one of them having a device. We have got to have that teacher prepared for what that means. So that's why a big key, remember I said curriculum leads the way. So the key is what's on that technology, not the device itself. It's the application. And can those applications be used by that teacher in that classroom? And those are absolute keys. In terms of numbers, I don't crash the party, but we talked probably more conservatively. Should we start a pilot with maybe identifying a grade of students to see where this is? And devices may change based on the age of the student. It may be more of a netbook, more of a tablet for older kids versus the phone. My four-year-old and 2.5-year-old grandson, they navigate this thing unbelievable. I'm going to tell you, maybe you've seen it. This is like me with the full laptop. So, different fits.
Exactly, and as we've done our work with talking with our committees and our principals and our school groups, starting this discussion, we still have schools who would like to purchase with their school technology funds that come through the MTech more iPads. We have 990 iPads right now in Buncombe County schools, and we have 13,500 laptops or desktops. We know schools are still going to want to purchase those things, and we want them to because we are seeing wonderful benefits from those pieces of equipment. This is one way to bring devices to the hands of all students in a very secure kind of way. It would make me nervous to put 22,000 devices out at one time. But what can we do? If this is a concept that you're endorsing and you wish us to go forward, what would it look like? Maybe we would think about a 6th grade. All 6th graders would have a device. So I've asked John Parker, he is our lead media specialist, and he will really work with our school media coordinators to make sure teachers have this information and know how to use the app. So I've asked him to speak just a few minutes about what it would look like for a teacher.
And if you would think about those apps that she had displayed up here just a minute ago, let's talk about how these could be real game changers in the classroom. You notice they're not specific or skill-based apps. Neither are they unique to that device that those kids will have in their hands. These applications can be used in any place, any time, on a school computer, on a BYOD device, or on this device that we're talking about here. For example, starting at the bottom of the list, that 6th grader will have what we've been referring to as ubiquitous access to their school library catalog here in Buncombe County. That means over 675,000 different resources they have the records and access to. Some of that's digital content. They can search it, they can save it. If they've got a project that they're working on at school, yeah, they can take a note, like this gentleman's been doing back here, but better than that, that teacher's written something on the board. The student uses the device to take a picture in Evernote. They go home and they search for that term. It's in the picture and the annotation out of that picture. Then they add another component to that. They said, Mr. So-and-so, remember he gave us this mnemonic to help us remember how to use this concept. And then they said, oh yeah, where was I when I made this note? It's already attached that information to the note as well. They can organize those into notebooks. And then they can engage in what really is designating them as a member of the 21st century. They can create something with a keynote, a presentation, again, that can be used with a PowerPoint. It can be created on the device. It can be displayed from the device. They have entered into uncharted territory because they're able to create, they're able to communicate, and if you look up there at Google Drive, they're now able to collaborate with each other inside documents. 2 or 3 students working on an assignment, jigsawing that together. Maybe it's a report. Teacher comes along later that evening, writes a comment. Did you guys consider this? Students reflect and go back. We were talking about inquiry-based learning. If we want to talk seriously about inquiry-based learning, we've got to talk about tools that promote that and devices that promote that, and putting those in the hands of kids and teachers. And by doing that, we are encouraging this type of education that we've been talking about all evening. We talk to one another and within our school communities with a confined user group with Google Mail. And before you know it, we've really done more than just educate our children. We've created community around education. People are talking about education and reading and thinking, not just during those 10 months of the school year. They're doing it all year long because now they have access to tools, to ideas, and they're not confined to those spaces. Remember, these devices take pictures, they take videos, and it's a creative device as well. So it's really much more than we think about. And it's a change for us to put those into the hands of someone who really has grown up with these devices. They were born with these devices. Even most of us have these devices these days. I'm just watching the crowd and everyone's got them out. So why would we not do something like this and encourage use beyond what we were ever thought? So that's just one way that we can do that.
So in your, anyway, I just had one question actually about the monthly cost. With that, if we decided, like, after a while that we wanted to upgrade, so to speak, to iPad mini, would the cost be the same, or is that an additional monthly cost?
Several dollars. As far as the monthly cost, I mean,
To operate
the monthly cost is $3 difference for a tablet versus a smartphone. So it's $34.99 for the smartphone for unlimited data. It's $37.99 a month for the tablet.
There are parts of Buncombe County where internet is, hard to catch. Would the students be able to, say when they're at school, download maybe what the problems or homework, and then take it home, and then they could work on it, and then maybe if they went out to dinner, they could access it. They'd have that ability, because I know there's.
We have had that discussion with Cindy.
Yeah.
She's very well aware of our geographical concerns, especially around Barnesville.
Yeah, I'd just like for make sure everyone would.
I was thinking Candler's.
I have a problem with church.
They have 8 gigs of storage, still processing to store the documents onto the device. Now, this is also going to be dependent on what the final determination of how the curriculum will be pushed out. So if you use a Google Drive application, you can either access the application or you can download it to the device and store it on the device for later use. Keynote, you can go in and create the presentation. It's physically stored on the device and then upload it if you're in an area. So for the majority of the content, yes. As long as if the students at school says, you know what, I know when I get to this area later, I'm not going to have the access, they'll be able to download it, store it on the device with the 8 gigs of both the
It is app specific. Question, Dr. Wood?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Just help me understand, so whatever money, you say is Dr. Fuchs, that we pay for this internet service, you get, what, $30, you get 82 cents back? Is that generally? Does it matter whether it is an iPod or iPhone?
Under state contract, the best device that they have. Well, if it was a laptop, again, we would still have to pay for the service. So regardless of whatever we choose, it has to be a device that has 3G or 4G capability, and then we would have to pay for that device. The only device that they had that we thought was functional enough to do what we wanted to do was that iPhone.
I'm just concerned because my son has an iPod Touch, which to me is functioning the same way as this iPhone because you can't use the phone as a phone. And he has wireless internet. He doesn't pay anything for it. I mean, wherever he goes, like at our house, we got wireless. So at school, do we have wireless at all our schools?
Yes, we do. But that would be a BYOD computer.
Pay a monthly fee for internet, and we already have wireless open access for free. It doesn't make sense to me.
At home, it's not filtered. At school, it would be filtered. In that environment, it would be all the students that don't have the fact that you have internet access at home. We have 22% that don't have internet access at home. This concept here is that everybody would be on the same level page with the device.
What I've seen, like other districts, I know have worked out deals with internet providers so that the parents can purchase internet for maybe $9 a month, or there's other ways. I mean, how did you do a study? Did you look at, laptops versus this versus the iPad? This is the first I've heard of using this device. I've seen laptops.
Yeah, there's anybody that's doing this, I'll guarantee you. This is unique. And it was just an idea or a concept that I thought would be functional, and we were to have an individual from the Friday Institute here today, and he was going to tell you about how this is something that we want to adopt in the future. But the state of North Carolina with its project Anywhere, Ready Anywhere, is the same concept, in that the fact that we allow students to have a device or use a device that is ubiquitous with them. They go, wherever they go, they've got access. That requires 3G and 4G capability. I know that whatever it is, we're going to have to pay for that access if we do that. This recommendation was specifically for that phone because that phone was free. And we would have to pay for devices. That's the
Yeah,
bottom
we're
line.
having to pay for the service. We already have wireless internet.
We do at school, yes, but not everybody has it at home. That's the difference that we're talking about.
But there are other ways to work that out. For the people who don't have it at home, I'd like to see you look at that. How you can work that out.
And again, we had less than a month to pull this together. This is something we had already been working on with our MTAC. So we're bringing you the latest information that we have from the last board meeting. In your packet, we provided a framework because we always need to start with a needs assessment. What do we have? Where do we want to go? And with technology changing as quickly as it does, we have to think about replacement costs, and we have to think about staffing. And you will see on this framework our inventory, and then you will see the technology staff that we have. And anytime that we move forward and have more devices and more learning opportunities and need more support, we know that we need more staff. As Dr. Fuchs said, he did lose over 20 staff members 3 years ago from budget issues, and we haven't gotten those back. And I will say firsthand, both teams are very, very busy in the work that they do. So just as points of interest and what we would love to see happen, if there was funding available, we would like to add 3 technology staff members in Dr. Fuchs' shop for computer tech and those kinds of folks. We would like to add 3 technology facilitators to be out in the schools, working with teachers and students. And then we also gave you cost estimates. The Verizon, we gave you a cost estimate. If we were to do it with one grade level, such as 6th grade, it would be $150,000. We're costing average of $75 a student per year. The Mondo, to add 1 unit to all high schools and 1 unit at central office would be $54,000. And so those items total up to $564,000. You will also see we have some specialized software that we are using capital funds or Race to the Top funds to continue those programs. And again, using those capital monies to ensure that schools can make choices about, do they want to buy more iPads, do they want to buy more laptops, what do they need in order to best serve the students at their grade level. Again, we thought having this data for you to look at, to study, we're certainly just in the beginning stages of presenting this, and we would hope to work from the minimum level and then work toward a future level. We do have a 3-year plan, and Dr. Troops and Robert's team and John's team have been working very hard to make sure that teachers have what they need, but we do have much more work to do. Questions?
One last thing. So if we did go with this device, would that be bid out, we would get, send out an RFP and get bids for the service?
Yes.
I was just curious, do you have any figures available that compare the cost of the service for the iPhones versus the cost that we're using now with textbooks in the EST stuff?
We have not purchased textbooks because those funds have been cut for the last few years. We have a digital tech book that we are using Race to the Top funds, but it's a different kind of funding.
Is the expectation that the funding for textbooks would recur?
We always hope it will, and that we would have some direction that we could expand some of our digital capabilities. But that would be a matter of the state budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Verizon for their presentation and their commitment to our schools and for stretching us beyond compare.
It is a stretch.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Definitely something to think about.
That they haven't yet. That's right.
Moving on to our action agenda. The first item on the action agenda is the minutes for the December 3rd, 2012 work session. Do we have a motion to approve those?
Should I make? We have to have a motion first.
I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Okay, is there a second?
I'd like to make a motion to add one change to the minutes.
Moving on to our action agenda. The first item on the action agenda is there's a motion to change the minutes. Is there a second?
To add one change only. I'll second it.
Okay, and the change is?
correct that and say, I support STEM education, is the location I cannot endorse.
Okay, is there any other discussion? All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay. Back to the original, minutes.
Yeah, you did understand it was a misrepresentation in the minutes.
All right, back to the original motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to the December 3rd, 2012 open session minutes. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second.
I would like to amend the motion to make, again, one change, to add an amendment that was not posted in the minutes that occurred during the meeting.
Can you go ahead and state what the proposed amendment is before seconding this?
Right, I had amended a motion and it just didn't get in the minutes, that we vote separately on the budget amendment, pulling out the $40,000 for the proposed STEM school engineering study.
Okay, is there a second?
Where in the minutes should this, are you asking for this to
It's
be
on
inserted?
page 1021.
Okay. So Ms. Baldwin, it says, Ms. Baldwin amended the motion to vote separately on the budget amendment and pull out the $40,000 for the proposed STEM school engineering study.
Yeah.
And what is your specific amendment, Ms. Baldwin, that you're proposing?
That was that's what I know it's confusing. I
It was
amended
in
that
there.
motion.
It was in there. You just wanted to change
No,
the
it's
wording
not
of
in
it.
there, actually. I didn't see it in there.
I read that from the real minutes that's been proposed. So maybe take a look at that.
I sent these changes in about a month ago.
Let's just make sure we're all on the same page. Take a look at the document on the board. Agenda.
I don't see the amendment that I made to the motion. The motion is there that Mr. Bryant moved to go forward with the STEM high school and approve funding for the engineering study, basically, in an amount not to exceed $40,000. And then I had amended the motion to vote separately on that. It just didn't get in there.
Maybe it's in the wrong. Will you scroll down a little bit? It says there's a motion. Mr. Kless moved to approve budget amendment 1, and Ms. Franklin seconded the motion.
Okay.
Then it says Ms. Baldwin amended the motion to vote separately on the budget amendment. Is that what you're talking about? And that should be moved up to Mr. Bryant's motion or something?
Okay, maybe I just haven't looked at this one. Okay, yeah, it's fine. I apologize.
Okay. No.
I think
But we just want to make sure we're all on the
I
same
can't remember,
page.
this was, a month ago when I sent the change in.
No problem.
That was okay.
So you want to withdraw your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is withdrawn, so we, all in favor of approving the December 3rd, 2012 open session, please signify.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt you? I think the reason was to vote separately. That part wasn't in here, because this just says to remove the portion of the budget amendment. And the problem was that it wasn't in there to vote separately. I was not removing it permanently. I think that was what I was trying to differentiate. Now, after I read over it again. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Let me go back and amend the motion. It's confusing because the word amendment is in here and it's a budget amendment. I know it's tricky, but if you go back and if you remember.
Okay, if you'll clearly state your motion.
Yes. I would like to, do you want me to take the motion to amend the minutes to add to vote separately?
It's in there. That's the version I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's what the change is. You're looking at the change highlighted.
Yeah, is that not part?
Okay, well, it was marked everybody to see too, it's highlighted in yellow. Thank you.
And you've got the one part that's crossed out, and I think that's where the confusion was. So, but that's the minutes that you and Dr. Baldwin presented to the board for approval, correct? Just make sure all of it comes out.
So that's, forget what I said.
All right, all in favor of the December 3rd, 2012 open session minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, budget amendment number 3. Do we have a motion to approve budget amendment number 3?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second? Any discussion?
Yes, Ms. Parker here has some questions. I want to thank you so much for all the great information you gave us on the budget amendment. You did a very thorough job. I really appreciate all that. And I think, well, some of this I think was confirmed in the other session that we are voting to move $500,000 as a part of this from our Article 39 sales tax to be used for the STEM high school renovation. Is that correct on one of the charts?
Mr. Sosha, do you want to come up here? She's asking about the capital outlay fund.
Yeah,
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, on one of the charts, I think it said $500,000 was being taken from that capital fund to be used for the STEM high school renovation.
Yes.
And I guess I had submitted a question yesterday that you may not have had time to answer probably about the encumbrances, that the column about the committed, the uncommitted column on the chart as to letting the board know how much has actually been committed through the encumbrances, that is salaries, benefits, open purchase orders, contracts, etc.
I did respond to your email, and a complete listing was sent to all board members early this afternoon.
Okay, was that this afternoon?
Yes.
We were in the meeting. I hadn't checked. That's all that I had right now. I just wanted to amend the motion to pull out that $500,000 and vote separately on that.
Is there a second to the amendment? Okay, it fails for lack of a second. Okay, any other discussion or questions about budget amendment number 3? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the extension of the audit contract as provided under
I'll stay here.
Board Policy 505. Do we have a motion to approve to extend this contract?
I move that we extend the audit contract.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second. Okay, any discussion or questions?
I did have some questions. I think JPS did a great job with their audit this year, and my big concern is going up $12,000 all of a sudden with no justification for that. And I'd like for us to go back and ask them to justify going up by that much money to do the same thing that they've been doing, that they're accustomed to, that they have the working papers on. I think that's justifiable. I think it's for us to negotiate with them on that price, perhaps, as well. Do you have any more information on why they want to go up to $12,000?
As I explained, they are losing money on our audit. It's that simple. This is their best focus. If the board doesn't want to accept it, that's fine.
I know, but I
I can't see such a large increase without some justification as to why they're losing money on it. I mean, they made the bid back in 2009, and I know they have the right to go up, but they were charging $85 an hour in 2009, and now they want to go up to $106 an hour for the same job. I guess I have questions about there's more reports involved now since 2009. Are more hours being spent on this report? I know you said that some of the more work was going to be done in-house, so that may cut back on their hours.
If you look at the 2009 memo, which I attached, there were only 2 firms who responded who had good peer review letters. Some of the other firms that responded refused to release their peer review letter to me, even though it is illegal for them to refuse to release the peer review letter to me. And the fact they did not want to release it said to me, obviously, they're not an audit firm we want. The only other qualified firm who bid back in 2009 bid $82,000 at that point. And yes, with all the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act money and those very onerous compliance requirements that have come on that, the amount of work has increased dramatically.
Yes, still, I mean, $106 an hour is a lot of money, and we have to be fiscally prudent with taxpayer dollars. So I feel like we have an obligation to the taxpayer to go back and negotiate with the
I have
checks.
negotiated. This is their final offer, and if you don't wish to accept it, we can go out for bid. I think there's every likelihood we'll end up paying more for the audit if we go out for bid, and they have shared with me if we go out for bid, they will not respond. They are doing this because of a sense of commitment to the Buncombe County Board of Education. It is a money loser for them, and they simply, as a firm, have decided they can only afford to lose so much money out of audit, and that's the reason for the price they gave us. But if the board doesn't want to accept it and wants to take chances going out for bid, as long as we get a qualified audit firm, that's fine. But I really do believe that you may end up paying more in a bid situation than this price they've given us. For one thing, when you switch auditors, the auditors have to do a whole lot of documentation to build what's called a permanent file. And but it's I don't care. You know, it's the board's decision. Whichever way you go is fine with me.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Well, I do want to mention Asheville City Schools, I think, is using Dixon Hughes. I don't know if there's a way to compare what they're paying with what we're paying, or if we get a better deal if we work with them in the next go-round and bid it out together or something. You know, I just cannot see spending this $12,000 without them putting in writing their justification. A business, you know, wouldn't operate this way and accept a $12,000 increase like this for no reason to do the same job they did last year. In fact, they probably got it down pat because they've been doing it. They have all the work papers. They're familiar with the activities the school system does. I think it's easier for them over anybody else. Maybe because what would it cost us? Because we extended the contract last year in good faith. Would there be a penalty if we did rebid this?
No, like I say, you're just taking the chance that you end up paying more because they've been very clear with me that this is not a moneymaker for them. They're losing money on it because the board approved a 2-year extension last year in good faith. They felt that they had to follow through. If we go up for bids, they will not bid. So Dixon Hughes' hourly rates are much higher than Johnson Price Sprinkle. And it takes a certain amount of time because every year the transactions are all new. They have to examine every transaction because, you know, last year's gone and it's a new year. So it's not as though they don't have to do everything that they did last year. And last year they had a very low realization of what it cost them to do the audit compared to the fee they got from us.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I would make another comment real quick here. I did a little research. Dixon Hughes is local. They're actually the top regional firm and the top 15 fact that this is tax dollars at work and not, not charging so much money.
And back in 2009, when we bid, they were our current auditor, and they did want to keep our business, but their bid was just higher than Johnson, Price, and Sprinkle, who was a very qualified. So, again, whatever the board's pleasure is fine with me.
Yeah, it almost seems that when they give out a lowball bid just to get our business to start with and then start increasing the rate. So if we rebid it, we may get another lowball bid and, be able to use that for the next year.
I have a quick question, just to see if I was looking at this correctly. I'm looking at your cost quote. Originally, it's got Dix and Hughes coming in at $82,000.
Correct.
And Johnson Price coming in at $66,000.
Correct.
So even to me, if I'm understanding this right, even if you added the $12,000 to these figures, they would still come in less to what Dix and Hughes had those years.
Their prices, this was their price for 2009. We used the standard local government commission required format where you have your proposal to do the audit and sealed separately from that, and you cannot even open it until you've determined who is qualified, is the price proposal. And under state regulations, only the first year is a guaranteed price. So that is the quote for 2009. I think it went up $1,000 for 2010, a little more for 2011, and then last year was the PUC. So yes, it is a large increase, but part of the issue is with that firm is just their philosophy is, while we support local government, and this is a long-term relationship over the years with us as a client, and they do like auditing us as a client because, as you heard Mr. Hughes say, we try to do things the right way. They don't have to do a lot of work getting things in shape to audit, they can audit, but they still have to make a certain percentage realization, or as a firm, they're not doing that.
I think you might have misunderstood my observation. What I'm saying is it looks like even if you added an additional $12,000 to that figure, they still come in under the Dix and Hughes quote.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, and that's what I would expect to see if we go out for bid.
That they would still.
That Dix and Hughes will be higher than this, but again, if the board is more comfortable doing that, that's fine with me.
Okay, all right. All in favor of this audit contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, next we have the approval for the release of capital funding renovations for Ashton High School. I'd like to make a motion that we move forward and approve this. And as part of this approval, we would be approving the renovations for the Minotaurium. And even though we don't have the specifics for video recording, that this will be part of that proposal also, and we'll get to the specifics at a later date. But that is the motion. Is there a second? Dr. Baldwin.
And again, where's Mr. Fairley? Right there. Mr. Fairley presented at the last work session, or actually at the last board meeting. What that means is that component, that Minotaurium, was actually on the original timetable, Mr. Fairley, if I'm correct, was one of the last components, and this simply would allow it to be moved to the front. And because of the location, projected location, we would be able to do that, correct?
That's correct. Okay. You have some other information you'd like to
Just very briefly, I had given you a timeline, and I actually began the timeline March 2011 when by a unanimous vote of the board, this Career Education Center was closed. It was closed projected beginning 2011 and 12. Along with that, I want to remind the board that when that was closed, we made a commitment to the public in this audience that we were in the process of looking at a lot of high school reform. We referenced STEM at that meeting, and that the intent that we gave to the public was that we would reopen
after an appropriate time of planning took place. And I think what I'm trying to show you is that appropriate planning clearly has taken place. Beginning March 2011, we put a very comprehensive planning committee together. In fact, Tim Lampkin is here from the Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate his perseverance through our meeting. But symbolically, it's very important that he's here, because along the way, for a year and a half, the Chamber of Commerce, the Hub Alliance, every business person that we brought to the table regarding this project has enthusiastically endorsed this. And the continued question that we're getting is, when is this going to open up? When are you going to make this a reality? Because we're ready to step in and help. That same enthusiasm, I can tell you, has paralleled in the colleges and universities. Whether it be UNC Asheville, AV Tech, Marshall College with the biotech program, whether it be Western Carolina University with the applied engineering program, whether it be NC State University. You've actually had professors come here to board meetings and enthusiastically say, we support this. This is the right thing. I'm here to say it's time. The original timeline had us opening next fall. I'm not shedding any tears, because I think what now the second timeline is August 2014. What that allows us, and that's where I'm asking you to follow through with the blue months and dates, because it allows us ample time to take this project out into our communities, each and every one of them. It allows us to have an electronic town hall meeting, which we've talked about with you. It allows us to refine what courses, what curriculum is truly going to be inside this building. We must keep in mind, though, because I've heard this over, and you've not gotten stakeholder input, we've got to remember that we are working off of a state blueprint, and that blueprint is tied into funding from the legislature regarding innovative high schools. So it is absolutely critical that we stay with the framework provided by the state, provided through the State Board of Education. Also includes a rubric for evaluation. So whatever STEM high school is located, wherever in this state, that is the particular framework and rubric that is going to be used to determine how successful it is in the state of North Carolina. So you have this timeline. Ms. Blunt, let's run through this very quickly. What is a STEM-themed high school? And I'm probably doing this for some of you in the audience that, again, this may be the first time that you've even heard of the topic STEM. Here's what it is. It's a specialized STEM experiential learning opportunity integrated into the entire school. It features progress-based learning across the curriculum, state-of-the-art technology, and access to internships and higher ed resources. Here's what it's not. You've heard me say this in my superintendent comments earlier. This is not your traditional high school. This isn't the high school that anyone in this room has attended. It is the future. It is the 21st century model for education and for preparing graduates for what they're going to face as they walk across that stage. Next slide. And you left me, Ms. Blunt. Oh, maybe you did. Here's what it is. Designed around the North Carolina model for innovative high schools. And therefore
technology, Dr. Baldwin.
One thing I've learned, never ever give up the clicker. You're therefore able to secure special funding for operations that would not be the case otherwise. Remember, I referenced this. This is that important connection through the state legislature and the Department of Public Instruction with the innovative high school status. It isn't designed to appeal to students desiring that traditional high school experience. Click. Here's what it is. It's connected to the community in unusually strong ways. Outside resources, adjunct faculty will likely be brought into the school. Here's what comes with innovative status. It gives us flexibility with staffing that we do not have in the traditional setting. It allows us to go into the business world to identify those specialists, those resources, and allow them to come in and work inside classrooms with our kids. It isn't self-contained education confined to the usual teacher-led classroom setting. It's different. It's centrally located for more equal access by students from across the 660 square mile county. UNC Asheville, A.B. Tech. We're in proximity to access those resources, and that's important. That's another rationale when we start sending these programs out to multiple schools, we lose that capability of having those resources because they can't spread themselves out. That central location is a real asset for that. It isn't based at a single school, close to some students but not others, and it isn't able to be located at UNCA or A.B. Tech. We already have early college, middle college, outstanding programs at A.B. Tech, community college. I would throw Hank Dunn in a probably stroke mode if I called him and said, we need some more space on your campus. It will be paid through capital funds already available. They're uncommitted, undesignated. It will not increase our debt. It will not negatively impact projects at other schools. And I talked to you a little bit about the funding aspect. You heard the request that was tied in the budget amendment for $500,000 for Article 39. I'm here to ask $5 million to come out of undesignated lottery funding. When you look across the state of North Carolina, the majority of STEM specialized schools that you're going to find, it is not unusual in the least to find them being funded through lottery funds. Questions?
I have a question. You're saying it will not negatively impact projects at other schools. That's been one of my concerns. If we have Project Lead the Way pre-engineering classes here, are we going to be able to have them in every high school? I mean, we already have them in the middle schools, and we need to have that pipeline from the middle school to all the comprehensive high schools. And we're restricting it. If we restrict it to just this school having Project Lead the Way, only 6% of that high school population is going to be served by this school. They cannot continue on after middle school taking these Project Lead the Way pre-engineering classes. That's my concern, is that there won't be funding to do that in the comprehensive schools. Will there?
Well, this board makes the decisions on budget. If you want to put Project Lead the Way in all 9 of our secondary schools, you can do that. But remember what I've said multiple times, and that is Project Lead the Way is a program. And it served us extremely well at the middle school. So what I would do is revert where you're going toward the elementary school. We just found out, as Chick, I think I'm right, that Project Lead the Way is getting ready to launch an elementary school program. So if we want to really get serious about STEM, like hopefully we're going to get really serious about world languages, we provide that at the elementary level. But there's cost that comes with it.
Yeah, I guess the concern is that there'd be competition. Kids would say, well, why do I have to go up here to the STEM high school if I could take Project Lead the Way in my own high school?
Once again,
would that keep us from
respectfully, once again, I've been a failure as a superintendent. I don't know how many times I can't get across enough. This is not about a program. And if that student is sitting there saying, well, I've got Project Lead the Way, why do I have to go up there? You're losing the whole concept of what this is. You served on the committee. I think you made every meeting. Again, we've been a failure about getting this across to our whole committee, evidently.
Well, I don't think
Because
that's
it's
what I'm
entire, it's a
saying.
comprehensive program. It's different. They are not going to get the STEM experience at A.C. Reynolds High School if you have Project Lead the Way there that they would in this type of setting. It's the comprehensive approach. It's the integrated approach. That's not going to occur in a program. This is a school. This is an integrated curriculum across an entire school, so it's different.
Yeah, my fear though is that that will be the excuse.
Let's see if other board members have questions they'd like to ask. Does anyone else have any questions or comments they'd like to make?
I think we've talked about this a lot. I've fully supported it moving forward, and I do understand, I think I understand the difference in the concept. I know I've had a conversation with Ms. Cheek about, indirectly about, I know there's some schools that during the summertime where faculty are actually sent and they get that different type of training to be integrated, to integrate the program into a school setting as opposed to integrate the activity that goes with that faculty person in the school as opposed to a programmatic type setting. And I appreciate the work that's been done in presenting this information to us. And I'm fully supportive of moving forward this evening and supporting the motion and moving forward as soon as we can.
Yeah, I think you misunderstood the
Ms.
question.
Churchill?
I actually just had a question or a comment about one thing on your timeline that I would really like to see added is under here in May 2013, you had STEM High School Planning Committee reviews input from outreach efforts. I'm assuming that's the planning committee that started originally, correct? That's your original planning committee?
Well, the district meetings, our plan is, once the town hall meeting takes place, that we cover the entire system, then our intent is to go into each of the 6 districts and hold open meetings for any interested parents.
The planning committee, that's my question is, I guess what I would like to see is to make sure that we added a frontline, so to speak, teacher to that committee. Maybe a couple of them, the teacher that would be in all likelihood working in this setting. That's the kind of person that I also would like to see on that committee. And if we could also figure out a way to have a student representative on that committee. And I know this the thought of having an 8th grader at your meeting might be, scary, but, we're talking about it's going to be that he or she will be the one entering this program, and I feel like they should have part of the planning process.
Great idea, including students. We have included Mike Sullivan, who is recipient of the Borough's Welcome sign.
And Adam Hoffmeyer is a Project Lead the Way teacher.
Yeah, Adam's middle school level of Project Lead the Way. So we have brought in those that had hands-on experience with Mike's. Has an outstanding reputation in terms of science teaching.
And would he be interested in coming to the site as a teacher? Mr. Evans will not allow that.
Yeah,
I would vote no. I would vote no.
That's interested in being
Sure.
in this,
I'll black
be
vote.
part of the plan.
Sure.
Rodney said no.
Ms. Baldwin, do you have some more questions?
I'm not sure what we're going to continue with here. I see all of this as, we're not here to debate whether or not we need a STEM school. We're here to debate if this is the right place. And we have to do our due diligence as board members. And our job is to vet this decision and make sure it's the right one, that it's maximizing the dollars on the classroom, that it is, that we're reaching the most students with the money that we possibly can, providing the best opportunities for them. So, it's not about debating whether or not we need a STEM school. It's just the best way to do this.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Are we voting right now? I'm confused. I thought there was more to the presentation. Okay, I apologize. I do have some points to make. There's so many unanswered questions right now. We have no comprehensive financial plan for this school. We do not know the operating costs. We've been given no data other than to say, well, we need $5.5 million for this school. You know, that, I cannot make a decision without data. We have not done best practices. Dr. Baldwin talked about this during his superintendent report, about best practices for a STEM school. Well, best practices for any school is that you first survey the parents, you survey the students who might want to come to this school. You do an interest survey. You hold a public forum where you have question and answer time. We have done none of these things. I thought we learned our lesson with the Kuntz Intermediate School, where, you know, it's like the mentality, we build it and they will come. People didn't even know what was happening. It was being built. No parents had been surveyed first. I actually made a pattern of not following best practices. I'm going to go through my bullets as quickly as I can. As I said before, this school is roughly going to serve 6% of our high school population, only a maximum of 400 students. You know, I brought up the fact that we weren't presented with any other options other than this school's going to be in this building. We have $5 million in lottery money. We could build STEM learning centers in our 6 comprehensive high schools and use that integrated approach. In all 6 schools, and we're just, you know, we would be able to reach so many more students. Would have access to pre-engineering programs, and along with computer programming, environmental science, you know, whatever else we want to put in this school. Number 3, we have not, all we've heard is that, well, UNCA is not going to work, or AB Tech's not going to work. Did the UNCA Board of Trustees, were they approached with this idea? Have we looked at the capacity at UNCA? I'm sure they do capacity reports just like we do. It seems to me there hasn't been a real effort to look at other options. Lake County has a STEM high school at NC State. Guilford County has a high school at UNC Greensboro. This is not a new concept, and it's always a win-win situation for the university and the school. The university has a pipeline of students coming through that might attend their school. Students are getting college credits. As you mentioned, they have the mechatronics program there with NC State at UNCA. It seems like a natural fit. We had talked at one time about looking into a satellite from the North Carolina Science and Math School, but I never heard any more about it, any follow-through. We've also heard tonight from one of our speakers about the capacity report. We're picking and choosing the data we want to look at. Nobody's talking about this. In this report, it's not even online, and I'd say it's not even complete. Our most recent report from 2011-2012. This shows there are 6,120 empty seats in our school using the state model. When our facilities director went out and developed what he called a functional capacity model that might be more realistic, that was never completed. But still, it shows, I think there would still be at least 4,000 empty seats in our schools. We know that Woodfin Elementary School is at half capacity. It's centrally located.
We're not dealing with capacity of the schools, and we had a work session where we talked about all of these things that you're discussing again. This is nothing but repeating the same information that we've already discussed.
I don't think so. We have to do due diligence before we spend $5.5 million on a site that's possibly that is on the edge of a hazardous waste site. Okay, that's another point. No, let me finish. I have the floor for 10 minutes. That's Robert's Rules of Order. I don't think so. I mean, this is crucial. This capacity report is incredible. That we have all
right,
these empty
Ms. Baldwin, that's enough.
and we don't want to even look at redrawing attendance lines. I have the floor.
No, you don't.
Yes,
Not
I
anymore.
do.
We're going to move forward because we've heard all of this several times. This is nothing but repetition.